Okay, we are back. I'm very happy to have on the Goldstein on Gelt show Nir Eyal, who is the author of the best-selling book called Hooked: How to Build Habit-Forming Products. He's also a lecturer at Stanford University, and he's an expert in habit formation. Nir, a real pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me.
Now, I'd like to understand something from a habit expert like yourself, which is why is it that people will spend hours or check their Facebook and email and Twitter account 50, 60, 70 times a day? It seems like a huge amount of time they're investing. Is there something we can teach people to control that habit and maybe not do it so much?
Right. Well, the first thing to understand is that these behaviors are designed, that these products are not this engaging and this habit forming by accident, right? Mark Zuckerberg and the Twitter guys and Steve Jobs and all these guys didn't just get lucky. They had planned these products. They designed these products to be engaging, and so that's the first thing to realize. But that being said, I want to make clear that I think that these technologies are great. I think they bring us closer together. They help people live happier, healthier, more productive, more connected lives. And so I certainly don't want to go into back to a world without these technologies. However, we also need to understand that if we don't control how we use these products and make sure that we control our habits, then our habits control us. And so that's a big part of why I wrote this book. Number one, I want to help people build products that help promote healthy habits. And then two, I want us to all understand that the world is becoming a potentially more addictive place, and that if we're going to do something about how these technologies change our behavior, we need to understand the deeper psychology that's at work.
So let me first of all agree with you. I like the technologies too. I'm into the whole digital age, young guy like I am. Mm-hmm. However, the productive side of what you're saying, I'm a little bit questioning because you walk around an office today, and instead of working, people are doing whatever on their phone. And quite frankly, I've had to work very hard to get out of the habit of looking at my email dozens of times a day. So is it really adding productivity?
Right. So let's remember, too, that distraction is nothing new. I mean, the ancient Greeks talked about this term akrasia, which is whenever we do things against our better interests. So, distraction has been around a very long time. We don't live in a vacuum here that when we say that people are on email too much and Facebook too much. Remember, the average American spends 5 hours a night watching television.
Yes,
and so, frankly, I would much rather have people interacting on Facebook with other people or connecting with what's going on in the world on Twitter or sharing content on about their lives on Instagram than I would have them, staring dumbfounded at some sports game on television. So distraction has been around a very, very long time, and I don't think it's really up to us to judge how people spend their entertainment time. Now that being said, I do think that the world is becoming a potentially more addictive place, and so the new challenge, I think, particularly for the younger generation, is how do we manage our attention? Information used to be scarce. I remember when I applied to college, I would get these brochures that says, come to our college, we have 10,000 books. No, come to our college, we have 20,000 books. Well, now that's totally irrelevant, right? We're drowning in information. What's scarce today is attention, is how do we focus what we're working on? How do we focus our attention so we can actually get what we want to get done? And so that's, I think, a big part of the challenge of this day and age is how do we make sure that these products don't control us more than they serve us?
Well, I certainly think the attention issue is a big deal. Even in my own business, my day job is that I'm a financial advisor. And when I started 20-something years ago on Wall Street, I was the source of stock quotes. Clients would call and just want to know how's the market.
Right.
Is, and so we were the gatekeepers of that information. And actually, the whole industry had to change because we had to add a new value once everyone had that information.
Right. That's right.
But you spoke about being addicted. Unfortunately, again, I'm not arguing with the concept of being addicted to social media, because if there's a social component, I'm also a big fan of it. But there's so many addictions that people have or that people should have, which could improve their life. For example, if people were addicted to saving instead of overspending on their credit cards and going into debt, wouldn't that make them in a better situation?
Yeah, so addiction is a very touchy term, and we have to be sure that we use it properly because there's all kinds of different interpretations of what being addicted means. And there's a big reason why I did not call my book, I didn't title my book How to Build Addictive Products, because the definition of addiction, as opposed to a habit, an addiction is a behavior that's a compulsive dependency on a behavior or substance, and it hurts the user. Right, so we would never want to build addictive products. Being addicted to a drug hurts the user. A narcotic, an illegal drug, that is something that would hurt the user if they can't stop using it, even though they might want to. That's an addiction. However, habits are something else completely that are completely separate from addictions. Habits are nothing more than these impulses to do a behavior with little or no conscious thought. And we have good habits as well as bad habits. And so, yeah, getting into, establishing these healthy habits, these healthy routines, I think can greatly benefit people's lives. And I think that there's that we live on this precipice of an age where we can use the technologies that we carry around with us every day to help people live better lives. And that's really why I wrote this book, is because I want people to use the psychology of habit design to build better products.
We're talking with Nir Eyal, who is the best-selling author of Hooked, How to Build Habit-Forming Products. He's been talking to us about the concept of habits and habit building, and even differentiating it from addiction, which is kind of the dark side of habits. Nir, tell me something. Let's say that a person wants to improve his habits. And if I can just touch on the example I gave before, let's try and bring it down to real tachlis, something that people can take away from our discussion. Let's say that you realize, you sit with your financial advisor and he says, you're going to go broke by the time you retire unless you start saving every month. So you say, okay, I'm going to build the habit of becoming a saver instead of a spender. What would be the first step someone should take in order to actually improve his life that way?
Well, my work really focuses on products, so not so much in terms of personal habits. I know some of the other guests on your show, like James Clear, have really focused on personal habits. My research is really around how products change those habits. But I can tell you that there are several products out there that do help people change their spending habits. There's products like Mint. There's a whole host of different personal finance products that help change people's day-to-day habits by helping them become more mindful of how they spend their money. So, for example, there's new apps that try and intervene when you're about to check how much money you have in your account by giving you that information of, hey, here's how much you have to spend, or here's how much you budgeted. Be mindful of how you spend before you spend that money. That would be a great way to interrupt an existing habit of spending money because we feel this impulse, we feel this emotional need to spend money. Maybe, a lot of people go shopping when they feel bored or some kind of negative emotion, they go shopping. So I think we're going to start seeing more technologies that interrupt these existing habits, these perhaps bad habits, with a bit of mindfulness, helping us understand, wait a minute, am I buying this because I really need it, or am I buying it because it just feels emotionally pleasurable right now?
Wow. Those sound like very good ideas. So I'm thinking maybe I'll turn my question around, because you actually work with companies to help them design products that are more habit forming, hopefully to make people more interested in the product and keep doing it as habitually. Is that right?
Right. Exactly.
So maybe we should talk about a product that I could build as a financial advisor and hook people on it.
Right. That's right. So, I think a great example of that in the finance space is this product Mint, or frankly, any product that tracks the market. It's interesting. We find some of the principles in my book around variable rewards at work in products that track the stock market. So, for example, one of the reasons that people become habituated, if not all out addicted to watching the stock market, is because it's kind of like a slot machine, right? Watching the stock market go up, watch it go down. There's unpredictable rewards. That can be very habit forming. And we find the same exact mechanism in all sorts of habit forming products, from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram. This variable reward mechanism we see at play. So you can actually use that aspect of a variable reward to get people habituated to positive behaviors like keeping up with their finances.
So tell me a little more about the book. You have the model, the Hook model. What's that all about?
So the Hook model details this pattern that we find throughout habit-forming products. The Hook has these 4 phases: a trigger, an action, a reward, and an investment. And it's through successive cycles through these hooks that our preferences are changed, that our tastes are made, and that our habits take hold. And so it's these 4 basic steps of a trigger, an action, a reward, and an investment that we see throughout these habit-forming experiences.
So what would be an example that maybe we would have seen in our retail life?
In retail, that's a little more difficult to think about, because retail, the shopping is a hook itself. And so I can't give you a technology example, but I can, if you think about some of the aspects of habit formation in your average retail store, that the internal trigger for going shopping might be boredom. It might be some kind of negative emotion you're feeling throughout your day where you want to take a distraction. So you go out to the store. That's the action. The variable reward is hunting for what you're looking for. And then the investment is actually paying for that item. And so that's how we've been trained over the years that this is how we alleviate these needs and pain points in our lives. We see a very similar dynamic online. If you think about what makes Facebook so habit forming, you've got this internal trigger of loneliness. Every time I'm feeling lonely, with one quick click, I can open the Facebook app. I start scrolling. That scrolling is just like a slot machine or the stock market. There's these variable rewards. I'm uncertain about what I'm going to see. What did people post? What did the comments say? How many likes does something get? And then the investment is every time I add a photo, a friend, a comment, myself, any of these investments load the next trigger. They bring me back to the service and they store value. They get better the more I use the product.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Surely these were well thought out. As you said, Mark Zuckerberg wasn't just didn't randomly come across this. So it's really amazing that people thought about this, and we all sort of, I don't want to say fall into it, but we follow the pattern because they're building the habit in us.
Right. So the book just came out, so I can't tell you that Facebook used the book to build the product, although now we're starting to see products like Meerkat, another Israeli company that's making a huge splash right now at South by Southwest. They follow the hook model. There's other companies like Product Hunt, which is this product that just raised $6.2 million out here in Silicon Valley. So there's products that are now using the hook, but I really kind of looked back and looked at some of the most habit-forming technologies of the last few years, like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest, to figure out what were these common patterns that emerged.
Interesting. Well, it's really amazing, and your work is fascinating. We're just about out of time. We've been talking to Nir Eyal. Nir, in the last few seconds, just tell us, how can people follow you and follow your work?
Sure. So I blog at nirandfar.com, Nir spelled N-I-R, so nirandfar.com. And my book is called Hooked, How to Build Habit-Forming Products, and it's available wherever books are sold.
Okay, and we will put a link to that at the show notes of goldsteinongelt.com. Nir, thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world. If you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt Show.